police militarization has actually been increasing under Joe Biden. And so I wanted to show you this report. And there's, this isn't necessary. This is something that Joe Biden could fix with the wave of a pen, like so many other things and so many other ills in our society. Student loan debt could be erased, all federal student loan debt with the wave of a pen. We could have, descheduling of cannabis with the wave of a pen. And we could also have a massive police demilitarization with just a simple wave of a pen. And the Security Policy Reform Institute recently did some analysis on this, and they presented these results. This was published on April 1st, and it is titled, "Biden Should Use His Executive Power to Recall Billions in Military Hardware from Police." So through this, they show, I'll just read a couple bits of it. I'm going to read the summary and then we'll read the conclusion of this policy brief. So this is a policy brief that they do. And by the way, the Security Policy Reform Institute, they're a grassroots organization that doesn't accept any corporate donations, and they are completely funded by the people. They say they are by and for the people, and they focus on these foreign policy issues. So this is their wheelhouse. All right. So, all right. And for national security issues, which includes foreign policy, of course. So the summary on this says more than $1.7 billion worth of military equipment has been transferred to the Pentagon's 1033 program, the primary means by which police acquire combat gear. President Biden could force law enforcement agencies to return this hardware and halt future transfers, but has not, choosing instead to side with powerful police unions. Congress should pressure Biden to recall this equipment immediately through executive order. All right. And I'm going to show you a good chart about this. But before I do, I just want to show you what their recommendation was to President Biden and his administration. It says in Congress, which can act on this as well, but Congress, the first act they need to take is really just to pressure Biden, but they can fully abolish this law. So they say it is incumbent on Congress to abolish the 1033 program entirely by striking 10 U.S. Code Section 2576A, but President Biden can make an immediate difference by adopting the language from Representative Hank Johnson's Stop Militarizing Law Enforcement Act of 2021 into an executive order to prevent additional transfers of armored vehicles, explosives, assault rifles, and other armaments to police. This prohibition could work retroactively too. Police receive military equipment through the 1033 program as a conditional loan. The executive branch can force police to return this equipment to the Pentagon by adding conditions prohibiting law enforcement from having this combat gear. And there is precedent for this. They go on to explain that there's actually precedent for this already. Biden was vice president the last time an executive order was issued to a similar, albeit much more limited, effect. Former President Obama's Executive Order 13688 prohibited only a few items, but those restrictions forced police to start returning them to the Department of Defense. For the short time it was in effect, about $30 million in military equipment, including 126 tracked armored vehicles and 138 grenade launchers, were recalled under the executive order. Because we all know that cops need fucking grenade launchers, right? We definitely need cops to have grenade launchers, right, guys? What? Any initial thoughts on this, Kwame?
Who are y'all fighting? Hydra? Like, what the hell do you need grenade launchers for? This is wild. And this is, oh man, like this is exactly what we said on election night. Like this is like, we called that this whole, like, his vice president was a cop. For all intents, he ran with the cop. We knew he wasn't just like open to, but he was like actively friendly with. So like we knew this was gonna happen. Like I don't want to say I told you so, but we knew this was gonna happen. It's only gonna continue from here. And just wait. When the protests start again, you're going to see it's not going to be any different from Trump as far as the tear gassing and the brute force tactics that the cops are showing up with all kinds of military equipment. That's not going to change. Like, if you thought it was going to change under a Biden presidency. I'm sorry. Like, and maybe he'll prove me wrong. I would love for him to prove me wrong. Hell, we praised the person from Arkansas earlier. So I would love to come back in a week and be like, hey guys, Joe Biden finally did something good. But I don't know. It's especially when you see, it's not just that there's precedence for it. It's the fact that when it happened, you were the vice president. Yeah. You was there when it happened. You seeped it.
Yeah.
Like, you seeped it, bro. Right? So you know it's possible. You can do this like super easy. You know, like they can it doesn't matter what you do. Conservatives are going to complain about any executive orders you do. They're going to complain about anything you do. They're going to say it's overreach. You're doing it too much. You're doing it more than any other president in the past. They're going to talk shit regardless. Do you? That's what I tell any of my homies. That's my only advice for you, Joe Biden. They're going to talk smack regardless. So who cares? Just do it. If you have the power, if you want to make substantive change, if you at all were saying that Black Lives Matters at any point, if you were down with that, do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
It's really that simple. And if you don't, it's because you don't care to.
Yeah, and we're talking about a signature on a piece of paper. He you know, he sits around and he talks about this, oh, you know, police and the violence, like, miss me with, like, you know, all of whatever they say. Like, I'm tired of listening to what politicians say. Like, we got to stop paying attention to what politicians say and start paying attention to what politicians do, right? And like, his actions speak far louder than any of his words. And he talked about this, you know, when you know, Black folks was asking him what is he going to do for the Black community, you know, he's like, well, you ain't Black if you don't vote for me. He didn't, you know, he never promised us anything. And even in his campaign vote videos, I did multiple, you know, segments on his campaign videos where it was just all platitudes, just all BS platitudes, and no substantive policy guarantees. And you know, this is to further militarize our police is inherently anti-Black. It's anti-poor. It's anti, you know, it's anti, you know, anti-true liberalism. You know, this isn't freedom when you're arming your police to the teeth like this. And the, you know, so this is a something that should be really basic. Like, we're just talking about not giving the police explosives and grenade launchers and helicopters. And the reality is that Biden, it's not that he's doing this at the, you know, sadly, it's not that it's happening at that he's continued the Trump policies. It's not, that's not just the issue. It would be terrible if Biden simply, you know, continued the Trump policy or the, you know, previous policy of police militarization. But I'm sad to report that it's not even that. It's that he's actually made it worse. He's accelerated the militarization of our police department. So this is a chart showing the flow of military gear to police, right? And this is for the past year. All right. So we're seeing what has been the you know, how much in the millions, right? So by the millions, how much have these have police departments received in military gear? And under Trump, you can see the red bars are Trump. And under Trump, you had in the second quarter of 2020, you had $24 million in police gear. I'm sorry, in military gear going to cops. In the third quarter of 2020, you had 25 million. In the fourth quarter, you only had 13 million. Interestingly, that I'm a little surprised by. And then suddenly under Biden, first quarter of 2021, you got $34 million, more than any of the, you know, any quarter in the past year at least, and you know, more than Trump. And so he's now in nearly 3 times as much as what was transferred to police in the, you know, in Trump's last quarter of 2020. So, you know, this is a massive acceleration of police militarization. And I honestly I haven't seen this being covered just about anywhere, sadly. Like, I haven't seen this covered in even a lot in more independent outlets, which it's just one of those stories. Honestly, I'm not blaming any independent outlet for this. We all have limited resources, limited time. It's simply that this story has flown by and large under the radar, no pun intended, since some of the equipment that they've been giving to cops is airplanes and helicopters. But, you know, this is just sort of flown under the radar. And this is part of the thing where liberals, you know, brunch liberals, decided they wanted to go to sleep, and they were just ready to go to sleep. And so I don't think that we're going to see protests like Kwame said. I just don't think we're going to see protests on the same scale.
The only thing that we're hearing about, when did George Floyd happen?
That was, we're talking about exactly a year ago when, right?
Under Trump, right?
Yep. Yeah,
that's the only thing police related that we're hearing about recently at any large level, because it was something that occurred under Trump.
Damn. That is true. That is very, very true. Such a good point. You know, like you haven't seen the same outrage over these, you know, stories like the cops in Chicago that killed that 13-year-old boy. I think it's Daniel Toledo, 13-year-old boy, and there's just not been the same, you know, outrage around this. And we'll see the body cam footage on that one soon. Hopefully, they say it should be released soon. Hopefully, and we'll see what we got to say about that. But yeah, this is something that has sadly gone unchecked. And you know, for all the promises that Biden made, and look at how many black, you know, like, and this isn't just a black issue. Let's not kid ourselves. Like, I hate when this is often taken and treated as if it's just a black issue, as if black people are the only ones that stand to be, you know, harmed by police militarization. But it's all poor communities, but just disproportionately black and indigenous and brown communities. But it's certainly all of our communities are impacted by this, and our lives are put at risk. And especially when we're going to connect this to one other story we'll do, and then we'll do the Kaluuya story. But we'll connect this to one other story about, you know, Biden and what he's doing with, you know, helping, you know, his sort of pro-cop agenda that he's been pushing. And I'm just not seeing the same kind of, you know, pushback that we saw under Trump, the same kind of outrage and reaction that we're seeing. And this is what we warned about. This is exactly what we warned about, you know, all throughout the primary, and with, you know, once, Biden became the nominee. And this is what we warned of. And it is coming to fruition. It is playing out exactly how we predicted. I was hoping that they would prove us wrong. They just haven't.
I remember saying it, and like, I was like, not to go to bat for like things that will be better under a second term of Trump, but at least all of our racial justice and police movement, that all of the momentum from that seems to have just evaporated out the room. Yeah, like right now, the only people still at it are the people who were doing it before it became popular. You know, like the millions and millions and millions of people who were paying lip service to this stuff have all gone silent, and the only people I see still talking about it are the people who weren't being heard before any of this happened. And
yes, I've seen the same. Yeah, I've seen the same trend with immigration, you know, and what's going on at the border. And all of a sudden, you got people like AOC saying, "Oh, well, at least it's one, like nut hair, you know, better than fucking what Trump did. So apparently, we should all be celebrating it. And to criticize in any way is bad faith, and you're a bad faith actor, and you're holier than thou because you want to criticize Biden's, criticize Biden's terrible immigration policy, and talk about, draw attention to these inhumane conditions. But it's by and large been like the Republicans now feigning outrage about the border. Really, they're just doing it because they want to try to act as if, oh, things are worse, under Biden, when it's not, because they actually care about the people that are being harmed. That's the reality.
It's so frustrating. It's so frustrating, this, like, you can't criticize them crap, because, like, again, we'll give props when props are due, but at the end of the day, we have to criticize them because y'all completely lied, Mr. and Mrs. and all y'all. We gonna push Biden to the left asses. I ain't seen not now one of you doing that. All right, so don't tell me nothing about we're being too hard, because if we stop criticizing and holding this man accountable, ain't no one gonna do it. Literally, no one's going to do it because you're not doing it. You said you were going to do it and you went back to brunch. So, like, miss me with all that crap.
Yep, absolutely. I saw Corey Saylor had that quote. Okay, I see. Corey Saylor says, "Is that a metric nut hair or an imperial nut hair?" Definitely metric. No. Sedalia says, "Standard of measurement, one nut hair." Yes, absolutely. That is our new standard measurement here. But Corey Saylor with the great quote. This is MLK quote. The tranquilizing drug of incrementalism, and this is absolutely it. The AOC and the Justice Democrats, and they have taken the tranquilizing drug of incrementalism, where they are have just lost all sense of urgency, and we cannot do that. We cannot do that on the left. We have to understand, you have to have a sense of urgency as urgent as the person that is struggling the most in your society.
Yes.
Like, you got to have the sense of urgency of the people at the absolute bottom, because that's who we're out here to try to make life better for, and who we're supposed to be out here protecting. So you got to have the sense of urgency that a homeless person has, that a person, one of those migrants in these detention facilities, a prisoner in our jail system. You got to have the sense of urgency that they have, locked up for non-violent crimes right now. We got to have a sense of urgency that those people have, that the person that just lost their job, that's under the weight of medical debt, is filing bankruptcy for over medical debt. We got to have their sense of urgency. We can't have a sense of urgency as somebody making $175,000 a year who's already vaccinated and has the best healthcare in the world. Like, we can't do that. We can't afford to do that.
We are bleeding out. And like I always say, what the hell is a Band-Aid to a bullet hole? It's fucking nothing. Incrementalism will never save us.